Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Marketing Matters. I'm Sarah Touchstone, Landmark Title social media marketing strategist and educator. I get the pleasure of bringing y'all Marketing Matters every single Wednesday at 10 a.m. I have the pleasure of not only covering amazing marketing techniques on here, but I also get the pleasure of having top producers like I have today. I'm joined with Rebecca Durfey. She is the top producing agent here in the Valley. I'm using that term pretty loosely, but the reason I say the is I was first introduced to Rebecca before I worked in the title world. I worked for one of the largest brokerages here in Arizona, and she was the #1 producing agent at that brokerage. This is out of thousands of agents. Rebecca, every single month, was just at the top of the charts.
Wow.
And she did, and so it was, obviously this is an amazing feat when there's thousands of agents. And she didn't have a large team. She did most of this herself. So she really is, when I say top producer and I say powerhouse in the Phoenix real estate industry, Rebecca Durfey consistently really is at the top of that list. So welcome, Rebecca.
That's very nice of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, well, like I said, you have been just the entire time I've been in the real estate industry, you really have been an agent to look up to. And it's not just because of your production levels either. As we're getting started this morning, one of the most fascinating things about you is your why. So I was hoping that you could go in and share a little bit why it is that you do real estate. Why do you work so diligently and so hard to, be such a powerhouse in this market?
I think the why is so important. Everybody needs to figure out their why. If you don't know why you do it, then you're just working. It's not a passion. It's not a career. You're just working. I had my son was working for me for a while. So it's me and my assistant, and I have my husband is our director of operations. He left his job of 25 years as an accountant, and he runs all the business side. So we are small, we try to be mighty, but when my son was working for me, there was a point in time where I thought he would want to take this over. I thought he would have the passion that I have. His why was just because it was a job. So I said, I can't have you work here then, because I'm doing you no favors. If this isn't something you love, this isn't something you want to do. And it's not just because it's something you love. If you don't really have the passion to help the people and make a difference in their life, there is nothing better for me than seeing somebody on a path to not only financial wealth in their home, which is their greatest asset, but their stability that a home provides. And the pathway for that is so important as well. I'm a big believer in making things in your life stable, because it helps in every facet. So I essentially asked him to find something else to do, and in the kindest way possible. I didn't want him to leave. I didn't, but I loved having him here. But if you're just doing this as a means to an end, that's fine, but it's not going to be your passion. You're going to want to find out why you're doing this. And so for me, my daughter, when she was about 3, I've done this about 20, maybe 22, almost 23 years. She has Down syndrome. I had 2 older sons, and then my Tori. And I love the workforce. I love being in that field. So I just wanted to find a career that I could manage my time better, but also I'll be her care provider, my husband and I, for her whole life. And so it wasn't like I was going to have an empty nest and all of a sudden the world would change. So I kind of accidentally backed into it with trying to just find a good career that I felt comfortable with. And it was not long before I found out it's just an absolute passion. I feel like this career was made for me. So
It really is. Yes, yes. It was almost like real estate was just made for Rebecca Durfey.
Yeah.
Because you really have. You've excelled so well in this industry. And I think it is a great testament for a lot of parents out there that this is an industry that is flexible. Yes, you are going to work, 80 hours a week, which
I work a ton.
yeah.
And I can be at home quite a bit, and that
Mhm.
makes it flexible.
Yeah, which hours you work of that 80 is kind of flexible, and
Yeah.
you get to work around things. And so I think that's just an absolute incredible backstory and reason and passion. And I love that you use the word passion, because I read a statistic this week that said that 60,000 realtors have already gotten out of real estate this year in 2023. And I think that kind of goes along with, if this is not your passion, if helping people, helping families, if you got into this game just because you were like, well, it's real estate, it's blowing up.
Yeah.
A couple of years ago, we could not get enough of it. There was so much going on in the real estate market that it was easy. But I think, oh, excuse me, I think as we transition back into, once I say back into, this is a completely different market than it was, before the pandemic even.
But that's the thing. That's the beauty of markets. They go up, they go down, they go all over. You can't just think the market you're in is always going to be the market you're in. People will ask our agents out here, what's it going to be like in 2 years? What's it? I tell them every time, I have no idea. I only know historically what's happened, because that's the past. I know what looks like it's going to happen in the next 2 months. But if I get a pandemic, that changes everything. If you get a 9/11, that changes everything. If you get a market crash, that changes everything. I've been in all those markets.
Yeah.
You just continue to form better skills, and you continue to help people understand there's no such thing as that the market is not going to change. It will always change. Yeah.
Always change. And I think, the last maybe 5 years, we were able to kind of figure out, based on trends, what was going to happen. But in the last several years, there is no figuring it out.
I think ultimately that's what we learn is, when you're talking about those agents that jumped out, well, if you were someone's cousin 2 years ago or a year and a half ago, and you put a sign in the yard, the house was probably going to sell. The skill set, it's like when you're sharpening a tool, if you don't have to sharpen the tool, it dulls over time. It doesn't know to be sharp. It's those experiences that we're having now. And man, the last 6 months has been hard. And I know people are feeling that. It is not the same. The expectation of our seller has had to be managed like it's never been managed before. And the expectation of our buyer has had to really be managed. And that's our job. And if we're not giving them sound advice, and we're not advocating for them, and we're not helping them understand what they're up against, then there's a lot of frustration. There's a lot of disappointment. And so, with the listings, and I know Sarah wanted me to touch on that, I go into every listing with 4 things in mind. I go with all my prep work done. I never go to a listing unplanned or unprepared. And with that prep work includes the RPR, which a lot of people don't use in the MLS. If you don't know what it is, let me know. It's awesome. If it's awesome. Sometimes I don't send it because it goes against what I need it to say. I get the Cromford report, and I make sure it's zip code specific. I get comps and information from the Cromford report. If you're not on the Cromford report, on her updates, it's so important that you're on those updates. And then I make sure we have like for like properties. We don't comp a 2-story to a single story. That's part of managing the expectation of the seller. I can't tell you how many times I go to a listing appointment and the seller has met with other agents, and what I'm telling them is different. And they're saying, well, wait a minute, this agent said I can list it for this. And as we go through the comps, they're not like for like at all. A pool And a non-pool house right now, pools get a significant premium. Those are not going to be the same properties. And you're not going to get 15,000 on an appraisal. You'll get more. And the desirability of the buyer is significantly more. We need to be able to share that with the sellers. So I go with the prep work, and then I present the listing. And in that presentation, that's where I try and manage expectations. I walk every single house. I do not meet with people at coffee shops. I do not meet with people at my office. I meet with them at their home. That's the only way. And if they want to just get a number from me, I tell them, I'll send you a one-dimensional comp, but that is not going to tell you what your home's worth. I need to walk your home, and people need to touch, see, smell. They need to know what they're dealing with. Agents, and on behalf of us agents, we need to help that seller know what the buyers are going to think. So I go with all of that presentation information. I try and help them stage the homes. The words less is more are used by me so frequently because many homes are cluttered. Many homes need some assistance. I remind them how important the pictures are. So those are all things at the presentation that I try and go over. And then the closing, trying to get that listing, I always ask them, what is most important to you? Are you for sure going to move? Or are you just kind of testing the market? Because if you're for sure going to move, we're going to get a little more aggressive about your staging. We're going to get a little more aggressive about, our timeline. This is just me. You guys can do whatever you want, but I do a high, medium, low on what I expect them to receive in terms of offers. And I do that because that's the only way I can manage expectation. It's written. I write it with my own hand, my own pen on their notes. I say, here's your high, medium, and low. The medium is where I expect that we'll get an offer if we're not getting it at the high. The low, don't worry, we're not going to get any lower than here. And I make sure it's at a price that they won't get lower than. So let's try and get in here. But then it's in writing. So I've had to refer back to that and say, well, remember when we met, that medium place that I thought we might want to list because you were kind of anxious, that's where we're at now. So are you okay going to that price point? So it just helps us as agents in the future when we have difficult conversations. And then I always do a follow-up, always, whether it's right when I leave, whether it's a day later, depending on the client, I always do a follow-up. And I think, Sarah, the reason that success comes to agents is because customer service in the world is so bad. It's dead. And so if you can provide all that customer service, if you can make them know you care, because if you don't care, then there's a whole other conversation we have to have. But if they can feel that, they will trust you and they will do what you ask them to do. So that's my quick 2-minute version of listing.
I love that. I love the high, medium, and low pricing idea. I mean, I think that
saves us.
That's a really good idea, because if your clients have met with other agents, and they've just said, this is the price.
Yeah.
It's good for you to be like, okay, where are these other agents falling on that scale to kind of help them determine. And you are correct. Each of those different price points has a completely different game that you have to play to get in there.
And if I can just give you an example, just the other day, I met with a listing and he wants to list his home, what I think is very high for the market. But do I have a path? Which I tell every listing, I need a path to appraisal. You cannot bank on a cash buyer. And you guys, everyone out there knows, if I hear one more time, well, someone from California is going to come and buy it and it's going to be cash. And no, they're not. Am I going to go somewhere else and overpay for a house just because I'm coming from California? Nobody wants to pay for someone's college, that's, you know, the seller's college for their kids. Nobody wants to pay for the seller to have their debt paid off, so I'm just going to pay extra for a house. That is to me, that's silly. That's not going to happen. So I always tell them, I can list your house for $2 million and you can have a buyer who wants to pay $2 million. But if it's a finance deal, I cannot get you $2 million if it's only worth $1 million or $100,000. The bank is going to make sure their investment is sound. And you guys can all want that all day long. That's not going to happen. So my job is the high, medium, low. The high is probably going to be tough to get an appraisal, but I always have to have a path. The medium, I feel confident I can get them an appraisal. And the low is, hey, we're desperate. We need to sell the house.
Yeah. Rebecca, we did get a question come in from Kathleen. Can you tell us what you do from start to finish when you walk in the door?
Now I will say, yeah, absolutely. But I will tell you, it's a little different with each client. So I've got culturally, there's clients from different countries there. So I try and nuance based on what that situation is. Also, how comfortable I am in the community. I have a community that I farm, that I live in, and I can walk in those homes like I own the place because I know it so well. So I will say it is a little bit different that way. But if I've never met the seller and they don't have any knowledge of me, I walk in with, I have a resume, I have the comps, I have the information on their home based on monsoon and RPR. I try and come with as much information as I can. I treat every listing with respect and gratitude because they don't have to choose me. So when I walk in, I immediately, if they are multiple people or a pet or children, I always have my notebook with me and I write their names down. Just as I try not to show them, I'm writing their names down, but just so that I have reference and I can reference those people or those pets later if I need to. So I do that as a cheat sheet. On my notebook, I know some people go in and take pictures of everything. I don't do that. I write notes. And I usually, because I've done this so long, I know what's upgraded. I know what our buyers are looking for. I have clients who will tell me, look, I have blinds. Well, yeah, every house should have blinds, so that's not going to be important to a buyer. So I try and look for the things that are important to the buyer. I jot down all those notes. If I see a soft water loop, if I see a garage service door, those are things that I know are not in every house. So I write everything down. How many bedrooms? That is just my memory keeper if I'm to list the house. I get their emails right there and I write them down because if I'm going to list that property, I'm going to need their emails. I also always ask permission to send them comps. Both I talk to them about the comps, but I also want to send them the comps because they'll have all the photos live. And I try and send them listings where those photos help them see what a house needs to look like, because sometimes you'll walk in a home and you have to be gentle, but there'll be a very strong smell and it's not necessarily good or bad. It's just a strong smell. So we need to help them sell their home and they don't know what they don't know. So I'm really careful when there's a strong scent. I know to insert in that listing, hey, I might not have mentioned this to you, but I provide Glade plugins for every house. I always give everyone 3. You can use them or not, but it's a pretty neutral scent. People tend to like it. It's called Clean Air. So I do that. And even though it's not every home, or I'll walk in and see things that are disheveled and they'll apologize and I'll tell them, listen, don't worry about it. It's only today. Today doesn't matter. Listing day, the day that we do photos, we're going to want everything to be totally perfect. I'm sorry, it's a beauty contest and buyers don't want to think people live there. It's awful that way, but it will sell your house. So I just try and make them feel comfortable. I grew up in a house of 14 children. Nothing surprises me. So I'm comfortable. I like things to be very orderly in my own home. I don't expect it of everybody else until listing day. So I try and make them feel comfortable that way. I do sit with them at a table and we talk about those comps. I present each document to them. I go through it, let them know what I see. They have questions most of the time. I let them ask questions. I give at least an hour for every presentation, but I make sure that that home has been walked before I do anything. I walk the home because I might change that high, medium, and low in my head right away. I might be like, they are never going to get this dollar amount. Or I might walk in and go, oh yeah, easy, easy. So it helps me when we walk it. And then I'm trying to think, Kathleen, because they are a little different, but I make sure there's some simple things. I walk every home, I provide those documents. And then the last thing I do is make sure I've got emails, I make sure I've got phone numbers, and I make sure they know that they can reach me anytime, that I'll be here to serve them. And then I do a follow-up. Is that kind of what you're looking for?
Oh, I think so. And then, all right, this next question too, this is a great one, leading right in. Once you get the listing, what different techniques do you use to give maximum exposure? For example, what marketing channels do you use?
Yeah, so that's another thing that I've noticed is people who jumped in the business in the last 3 or 4 years don't know that we have to kind of work hard sometimes to get those homes sold, because they didn't have to do anything before. So I was just telling a client this morning, all of my costs are front loaded. I'm paying for all kinds of, the photos, the marketing material, I'm paying for that upfront. So it's important for us to be able to get the closing too. I mean, otherwise we might not get those dollars back. So when I'm done, when I list it, the first thing I do when I list, I can usually tell if I've made a connection. And I can usually, sometimes they'll tell me you're going to list it at that listing appointment. I take pictures of those notes that I send, and I send them to my assistant right away, and she starts working on the listing, the paperwork. So she's already taken care of that. Or if you don't have an assistant, that's the first thing I would do, is get fresh in your mind, get those things in the data information in the MLS. Then we start our timeline. So I try and do a coming soon, even if it's 2 days early. I try and do a coming soon because it helps me go, like I send the write-up to the seller. I make sure they're comfortable with what I have in there. If they think something's super important and it's not, then I have to gently tell them, I don't have room. I mean, it's like a game for me, all 800 of those characters. If I can't get to the 800, I try and get as close to 795 as possible. If I can fit something else in, I fit it in. There are some homes that don't have enough information on that, that can share. I'll find ways. We want to use whatever those write-up opportunities are. I do a post whenever they let me. I always do flyers. I don't put the price on the flyers. That gives us the opportunity for somebody to check the MLS or call us. It's also a different market right now, and those prices can come down, and I don't want to keep changing those flyers out. So I do flyers at every home or land. I do flyers at land, which most people don't do. I do like your title company, Landmark, will help you with a coming soon or a just listed or a must-see or a reduced price. I send those postcards out to a percentage of people around that home. And I make sure that that seller has a copy of it, because they need to see that you are marketing their home. Do those work? I have no idea. I don't usually get anything from them. It's cheap marketing for us, but it also helps our sellers see that we're doing something on their behalf. I also do e-flyers. I do all the things that you guys probably all do. I think the biggest difference for us, when I sit at a listing appointment, what I tell that seller is, I probably can do just the same as most people when it comes to marketing. Hopefully we all really market. We do everything we can. We do broker opens, we do whatever, open houses. I don't sit open houses, but you can bet if there's a vacant home, I have people sitting those open houses, because why not? But what I think the difference between us and other agents would be, how do we negotiate? How do we get our clients not only the best price, but the best terms with the least drama and to the closing table? And so I don't push. I mean, I will market everything, but that's not really what sets me apart from somebody else. I don't think. Maybe people don't do the things I do, but I think every agent should. So is that answering your question? Because I do not want to miss what anybody's asking.
Yeah, I think so. I think that, and it is. I mean, I think that is, you outlined perfectly what every agent should be doing. And thank you for mentioning Landmark, because we can help you with flyers. We can help you with your postcards. It's as simple as sending over the MLS link and being like, I need 200 postcards for the closest, 200 addresses to this home. And boom, just like
I don't know
that.
why we wouldn't do that, friends. I'm telling you, it isn't, I mean, yeah, it's not going to necessarily make the difference, but what if it did? And it doesn't cost us a lot. It's great marketing for you. We have to find ways to penetrate the market, but every single time we do marketing for that listing, we are marketing ourselves as well. So it is just every post that goes up is an amazing way to get our marketing out there to other people. So why would we not? Why would we not do flyers?
Absolutely. And what we're finding right now too, is that homes are taking a little bit
For sure.
longer.
Mhm.
So, so you have more time. It's not like a couple of years ago where you literally put a house for coming soon and it was gone the
Yeah.
next day. You have a little bit more opportunities to do things like open houses, postcards, flyers, putting out a little bit more time and effort into marketing.
Yeah.
Along those same lines, I think one part of the question for that is, do you do any YouTube videos or Facebook boosts? The agent said, I have a listing that's not having much action. So he's trying to think outside the box. Like, what else can he do besides what all?
Yeah, that's a good, thanks for bringing that up, because I will tell you guys, I do a walkthrough video on my homes. And I will, and I have a gal that helps me with if you're looking at my social media, my site, I'm not usually the one who's posting tip daily. I do my personal, but my work one, I have someone who helps me with that. But I will walk a home, talk about it. She videos it and she sticks it on YouTube, and we get it on our social media. Again, yes, that's important to get people like to look at houses. They like to walk through houses with you. But more importantly, it is a way for me to be able to promote the client, the house, but also myself. So I do, and I have a YouTube. I'm not looking for all the, some people are so good at all that, like getting people to look at their YouTube stuff. Mine is mostly because I go through YouTube in order to upload it to the Facebook, social media stuff. But I think that helps. I think they like I'll call a client that hasn't had much activity. I'll say, hey, do you mind if I do a video walkthrough? We're going to blast this everywhere. And so it's just a way to continue to trickle out. I saw somebody ask if I do photos from my phone. And if I'm doing a coming soon, I will take some photos from my phone, but Todd's worked for me for probably 8 or 9 years, my photographer, and he's not any more expensive than any other photographer, but he knows what I like. I never take pictures of closets unless they're empty. I never take pictures of garages unless you have some awesome garage or somebody's really, really clean. They just don't look good in photos. I'm super picky about my photos. I don't want, this is going to be like a lot of you probably, but I don't want 30 or 40 photos. I think that's a waste. When I'm sitting at my phone, at my computer, I'm clicking like this through photos. That's how fast I go when I'm looking for buyers. So I just want 25. And if it's more than that or less than that, that's okay. But that's about where, if I'm getting more than 25, unless it's a really big luxury property, which will take more, I don't put tons of photos. I want them to come to the house. I want them to want to see the house.
Right.
So,
yeah. Well, and a lot of houses really have their best side, whether it's,
for sure.
or a backyard or something that is part of the house. Usually not everything in a house is amazing,
And we don't need 12 angles. We just don't need it. So I'm not going to take 12 angles. I want people to get just enough that they're interested, but not enough that they won't come to the house. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
All right. I think we have time for one more question. And this is a pretty cool one. This is a multi-part question. The other one is, could you share your photographer's contact information?
I will get that to you, Sarah, and then you can send it out, because I'd have to look it up. And
perfect. Yes.
his name's Todd. So.
everybody that's on, I will get you Todd's
Thank
information.
you. I'll text it to you as soon as we're done.
All right, this is like I said, multi-part question. Do you do client parties? Do you do monthly communication via your CRM? And are you coached?
Okay, well, I'll just hit those right away. I do 2 parties a year. I do the client appreciation in November with the pies, just like so many other realtors. I have it at my home because I want them to come to my home and I want to see those clients. So I know some people deliver them. I don't do that. I want people to come. They linger. So that for me, that's big thing I love every year. And then this is just for me, but my birthday is May, and I try and do a birthday celebration on my birthday for all my clients. So we just do one birthday celebration and we find different things. One time I had Tina Tambora, paid for her to come out and speak to everybody about the market. It was probably last year when the market was really changing. So it just depends on what that year is, what's happening. That one's not as big. The November one always brings out a couple hundred clients. So I do that every year. I do a monthly newsletter that somebody prepares for me, and it's systematic. If it's not systematic, I'm not good enough about doing it. And I also once a month, I'm sorry, did I say once a year? That's every month. And then once a month, I also send out the Cromford Report. I am a member of that Cromford Report, so I do have access to their monthly synopsis, their analysis, and I send that out once a month. And I try not to put a lot of my own information in the cover letter. I just basically say, hey, whether you're buying or selling, this is your greatest asset. You might want to know what's happening. That's all, not a big deal. Then I will occasionally send a YouTube video through HomeBot or through different systems. And that's just general. When the market's doing something really unique, like last year I did quite a few of those, then I send those out as well. I am coached. I have never been coached. You do not need to be coached to have a successful career. When I was with West USA for many years, I love that brokerage. It just was great for me until I needed something different. And now I'm with Keller Williams, and I'm truly, I love them. I wouldn't have anything negative to say about the other brokerage. This is just a better fit now with where I'm at in my business. It's international, and it's more of a business plan. And they offered me the opportunity to be coached. I have always said, if it's not inside me, I don't need someone to pull it out. I love this career. I learn from other people. I'm humbled a lot of times to learn these paths that other people take. I don't mind stealing ideas. I don't mind you stealing my ideas. So I think there's plenty of coaching without being formally coached, but it's hard to get people to be accountable to themselves. And so a coach is really, in my view, somebody who helps you become accountable. And I think that when we're disciplined, I think that when we are accountable, you can get a coach. I think they do great for the people that want them and need them. I just don't think that if you can't afford one or you don't have one, I don't think that's the only way people are going to be successful. I didn't have one for 20 years. So, yeah.
Awesome. Rebecca, thank you so much for being on today.
Thank you.
This was great information.
Thank you.
You know, it is no wonder with these great systems that you have in place. Like I said, why you consistently you just do a fantastic job in this business. So it really was just an absolute pleasure to have you on.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And thank you everybody for letting me hang out with you.
Yes, absolutely. I'm going to wrap up today with a couple of other classes that we have coming. I always like to, promote what we have going on because we've got great things that we provide here at Landmark Title beyond just your marketing material, these fantastic webinars. We also have things like CE credits. You need them. So come head on out this afternoon. If you haven't already signed up, from 1 to 4 p.m. at the Atrium and Arrowhead, we do have a CE class going on, contract law. Butch is the instructor. He is hilarious. So you still have time to sign up for that one if you would like. And then for our Prescott agents, I'm headed up this afternoon to the Prescott area. We're doing GIFs and headshots. This is free for realtors. This is going to be at our Landmark Title Prescott office. There is still time to RSVP for that. So just reach out to Michelle and we'll see you there from 3:30 to 5:30 today. You can stop in at any time and we'll get those done for you. GIFs are those little animations that you can put in your stories and use for marketing. And then we've got Escrow 101 coming up July 11th. Yes, my friends, we are almost in July. So Escrow 101, this is going to be down at our Goodyear office from noon until 1:30. So Renee is hosting this and Tiffany is going to be your instructor. She is one of our amazing escrow officers. So head on out, learn a little bit more about the settlement statement. I know you guys want more about the settlement statement, title commitment, hold opens, and ways to take title. There's also going to be a question and answer session. And then coming up July 24th is the next session in Deanna Bone's summer school. So Deanna Bone's been on quite a few times on Marketing Matters. She is really a super knowledgeable top producer as well, and she loves coaching. So hop on. You don't have to have attended the first one this past Monday. You can get on that July 24th or that August 28th, scan that QR code to register for that. And then, as always, we've got on the 4th Wednesday of the month, the Biltmore Luxury Tours. These start at 9 a.m. and you meet at the Camelback Lakes Corporate Center. That's right off Camelback Road. And then you guys go and you travel to about maybe half a dozen different homes in the Biltmore area. I've attended this tour many times. Biltmore homes are absolutely fascinating. Sometimes you get fully upgraded ones. Sometimes you get ones that haven't been upgraded since the 80s or 90s. So you never know what you're going to find in Biltmore. If you'd like to attend, scan the QR code for that one as well. And then speaking of Prescott, the next Whiskey Row tour is July 27th. So they've got another one coming up July 27th and September 21st. Put those on your calendar if you guys are local Prescott, or if you're here in the Valley and you want to just head up for some cooler weather. This is open to everyone. So invite your clients as well. And then Prescott is also doing their Here Comes the Judge series on August 17th and October 26th. This is going to be at the Willow Creek Inn from 1 to 2 p.m. Once again, put these dates on your calendar and head on out for them. Just a quick reminder too, guys, that there is no Marketing Matters next Wednesday, July 5th. We're going to take an observance for 4th of July. I know that people with 4th of July being in the middle of the week, sometimes it takes us another day to really get back in the swing of things. So we are going to take that day off. But if you would like, you can always go to our Landmark Title Assurance Agency YouTube channel and get all the good stuff. If you really, really miss, Marketing Matters next Wednesday, but then we'll be right back the following week. So if you like the link for the YouTube channel or any information on the classes that you saw today, please reach out to your business development manager, whether it's Beth, Becky, Melinda, Mary, Patty, Cynthia, Michelle, Michael, or Renee. I got to get Keith. Keith is our newest business development manager. I'm going to get him updated on here as well. And then, of course, thank you to Landmark Title for allowing us to bring you Marketing Matters every Wednesday at 10 a.m. We have 7 offices here in the Valley, 1 in Prescott and 2 up in Nevada to service all of your real estate title and escrow needs. And of course, big thank you to Rebecca Durfey for coming on today. It was an absolute pleasure and a joy having you on. I hope everybody learned a little something new from her that you can implement into your business. And Rebecca also put Todd's contact information up in the chat window. So you guys can go ahead and get that, or I will send it to everybody who attended today.